Yo, what's up internet? My name is Anthony and today we're continuing part 2 of how the Raiders were built. After sucking again in 2013, the Raiders looked to upgrade in 2014 and that class included a monster 2014 draft class. Let's go. As we can see with the offensive lineup, the departures left holes across the board. It wasn't so much that we needed better players, we straight up needed players to fill out the starting lineup. Of the ones that were there, none of them were really good players. Stefan Wisniewski is a solid center, and McFadden is a good running back who kept on getting hurt. Now, McKenzie looked to upgrade the offense. First thing McKenzie did, of course, was get offensive lineman Austin Howard. He might have overpaid a bit for Howard, but there was plenty of cap space available, and Howard is a solid start in the league. The signing allowed then right tackle Khalif Barnes to slide inside to right guard, making a solid but unspectacular right side of the line. Next, wide receiver James Jones was signed. Jones wasn't a burner, but he was a good, reliable target. Having a receiver that ran good routes and was reliable was something the receiving corps was desperately missing. Next, the Raiders signed quarterback Matt Schaub. The Raiders needed someone to start at quarterback, and Schaub fell off after a few good seasons with the Texans. He was another veteran quarterback option who the Raiders hoped would be able to hold down the fort until a promising quarterback was developed. Lastly, Donald Penn was released by the Bucs and the Raiders picked him up. Penn had been a good starting left tackle in the league, and it was a bit surprising that he was released. With the Raiders desperately needing a starting left tackle, Penn came in and played at a Pro Bowl level ever since his arrival. Now, we move on to the defense. From the departures, you can see that the team was missing cornerbacks and overall just had no talent outside of Charles Woodson. The hope was DJ Hayden and C.O. Moore would develop even further in their second year, but this team had a bunch of players that were pretty replaceable. When most of the players left, nobody seemed to care too much about their departure. The first piece on the defensive side was Lamar Woodley. He had a pretty good career in Pittsburgh, but was released after a few disappointing seasons. The hope was he could revitalize his career in Oakland, but that never happened. He just wasn't a very good football player anymore. Then, the Raiders added defensive tackle Antonio Smith. Smith is a solid pass-rushing defensive tackle. He did get pushed around in the run game, but provided solid veteran leadership on a young team. Next up, the Raiders replaced Jack Crawford with Justin Tuck. Tuck is a leader in the locker room and still had some gas left in the tank. Finally, we add in cornerbacks Terrell Brown and Carlos Rogers, who previously played in San Francisco. The hope was that this new cornerback duo would be able to provide better coverage. Sadly, they turned out to be pretty bad once the season was played out. Now, let's take a look at how the draft affected the offensive side. Remember, Schaub was expected to be the starter until a young quarterback was able to develop. Well, in the second round, the Raiders selected Derek Carr. Carr stepped into the starting lineup immediately. Schaub's arm had been shot and couldn't throw very far. Carr had a live arm and lit up the Seahawks starting secondary in the preseason. By week 1, Derek Carr was named the starting quarterback and hasn't looked back since. Remember how Lucas Nix performed as a guard? Nobody does. In the third round, the Raiders selected a mauler in Gabe Jackson. Gabe Jackson immediately started at left guard from day 1 and has become one of the better guards in the league. If it wasn't for Derek Carr's contract needing to be extended, there would be a lot more talk about needing to extend Gabe Jackson. Now, we move on to the defensive side of the ball. Lamar Woodley was expected to be the starter until an upgrade was available. Well, in the first round, the Raiders drafted Khalil Mac 5th overall. Mac immediately made his presence felt, becoming one of the best defensive ends/outside linebackers in football, even as a rookie. His pass rushing skills hadn't developed enough yet, but he still had a ton of pressure and was one of the best at sealing the edge in the run game. Finally, in the fourth round, the Raiders got a quality defensive tackle in Justin Ellis. Ellis is more of a run-stuffing nose tackle and has performed adequately thus far. He's not a world beater and doesn't provide much of a pass rush, but has played better than Pat Sims at a lower rate. A side note was TJ Carey was drafted in the 7th round and plays well as a cornerback. He wasn't playing very much early in the season, but became arguably our best cornerback by the end of the season. I personally love what Carey has accomplished, and this was a steal by McKenzie. He got a quality depth piece at cornerback when every team will say they don't have enough cornerbacks. Carey isn't a great game-changing cornerback, but he's pretty darn good. That's a lot to ask for in general, and he was drafted in the 7th round. And there you guys have it, the beginning of the talented roster that we've assembled today. The 2014 draft class was good, and it was just the beginning of what the Raiders had in store. Thanks for watching, everyone.